Welcome on back into the CrocPod Cast. It's your boy Chef Zay. Shout out to everybody wherever you're watching, whether it be YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever they call it. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for tuning on in today. Got ourselves a very special guest. I guess no longer is it just a guest anymore. I guess I consider this man a friend. Um, Return specialist, a Kent State alumni, tied for second in NFL history with 8 NFL kickoff returns for touchdowns, holds the record for 2 of them with 100 plus yards in one game. First team All Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, 2000s NFL All Decade team. The man Joshua Cribbs is joining the show today, and it's kind of funny that he's on the show today when there's a lot of news. There has been some fireworks in the media world today. We were gonna come in and just talk playoffs because obviously that's the most recent thing. But then I woke up to a bomb this morning with the firings. And then what made it even worse was you saw conflicted reports. You saw one report say that Van Pelt was out, and then you saw another report say that Van Pelt um was still here and they were working through he was still under contract. So you didn't really know what the real story was. And then obviously later it came out that I think Jake Trotter had it. Well, obviously Josina Anderson had it first, and then Jake Trotter had that um Van Pelt from the horse's mouth said that they're parting ways. So it's interesting. There's been a lot of shocked results. People find it weird um after seeing the season that they had. I told people there was going to be a lot of uncomfortable conversations, and I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm shocked that this is the uncomfortable conversations that we are having. But nonetheless, this is the situation that we're in. So, with that all being said, the man, the myth, the legend, my friend Joshua Cribbs is on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Jay Cribbs, oh, where is he at? Hold up, there he is. What's up, baby? How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good. What's up with you, baby?
I'm a little shocked this morning. How about you?
I'm still in mourning.
I feel
I'm
that.
still in mourning from the game. I'm shocked at all the coaching changes. Um, some of the changes that's being made. I thought it was some of the bright spots. As far as coaching on the team, you looked at our offensive line coaches. You felt like, okay, that's a good area. Um, uh, uh, and even Stup Mitchell, what he's been able to do with Nick Chubb. Dearness Johnson a few years back. And even the running back situation now, having to pull a rabbit out of a hat, you had these guys there to help you do that. So now I'm understanding there were a lot of internal conflicts that obviously happened during the season and throughout the season that created differences of opinions. And I am confused. I would love to hear a transparent interview from Coach Stefanski just about decision making on the purpose of it, the disagreements, so that fans can understand. Oh, okay, we get it now.
Hmm. So obviously, playoffs just passed, but all of this news, I think we're gonna lead straight into it because this is the hot topic. So with the shocking news that you did let go of the OC, which I think is the biggest news, obviously Stump. That one kind of just doesn't make sense, but nonetheless, you'll find another running back coach. Um, a lot of people have suggested that maybe Kevin Stefanski should demote himself and just take the offensive play calling role because you have Deshaun Watson and you could clearly see that everything is trying to gear towards him. Where are we going with this? What do you think the plan is, seeing that Kevin Stefanski is ultimately the reason why you brought him here was to run the offense, and people are suggesting that you maybe demote him. I just don't see it happening. Have you ever seen that happen before?
A head coach demote himself?
Right.
No, many times there are calls for that. There are calls from the fan base to say, "Hey, man, you need to step down." Just because of how you're doing. right? Um, there's a really a strong possibility Coach Stefanski wins Coach of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
A Coach of the Year front runner doesn't demote himself,
Exactly.
and I think that's all the amount of surprise that's going on right now. You know, you had a we was a playoff caliber, we were a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
We made something out of nothing. And
Literally.
those coaches helped do that as well. Yes, the defense was phenomenal. You know, for the most part of the season, they had holes and everything like that in the defense, but they kept us in a lot of these games. Flacco came, we caught on fire. Before Flacco, we were still able to be in a position to win games by winning, by pulling rabbits out of a hat with PJ Walker, by winning with DTR against the Steelers, by doing things that kept us afloat long enough to even get a Joe Flacco to catch fire. So seeing all of that transpired, you know, as soon as Nick Chubb goes down, then Deshaun goes down after a good game in Baltimore. We see our season kind of go down. Our expectations change,
Mm-hmm.
and yet they still prevail to the postseason. Yes, we were all disappointed, but they did it with this coaching staff that a lot of the guys that they just got rid of. So that's why a lot of times, a lot of people are surprised, like, oh, and this doesn't make us feel better as fans. This doesn't make us feel like, oh, okay, some changes are being made for the best, because these were some of the same guys that, you know, helped us win games.
Right. So you talked about the expectations. I feel like I'm in this boat, right? I think Kevin Stefanski has earned every right to get another crack at this, especially with a full go on the roster side. But you do talk about the expectation and the fact that when we saw Chubb go down and we saw Deshaun go down and we saw Conklin go down, the list goes on and on. um we felt like it kind of shifted, like, okay, if we could just get to the playoffs. But then you kind of saw things unfold a little bit and you saw that this team was more than just, okay, if we can get to the playoffs a little bit, maybe we can make some noise. And I think that's where I'm at, where when it's like when you talk about being on the fence, it's like, yeah, when you look at it from that lens, I get it. But if you're in the front office, you know just as well how the NFL business works. They don't care about what you did in the regular season, right? And when you get into this postseason and you go in Kevin Stefanski's shoes 0-2 and AVP 1-2 or whatever the case may be, and you're not producing when you have this window, is this more so a reaction to, okay, we saw that we had a little bit of a spark in the change in the defensive coordinator situation, so maybe if we get a new voice in, it could spike lightning again on the offensive side? Or is this a reaction that is, we have to see some type of change to show that, you know, we are at least trying? Because everyone's thinking that you just said, why aren't we running it back? So what do you think the direction is?
I think the latter. I think showing some type of change. This fan base kind of became fractured with that loss. There was a lot of marketing behind this playoff run. We were at least supposed to beat the Houston Texans. I just
Man.
got to say that. That was and I went online and still, like you said, despite the injuries, we overcame so much. The expectations for this team grew.
Mm-hmm.
Even throughout the injury, it grew because we were playing so well. So I think the latter. I think, this is a bone thrown to the fans a little bit to say, look, man, we hear y'all. We trying to get it. We trying to right the ship. We're gonna make some more moves. Our standards, because look, even my standards, and I know everybody's standards. We got to the playoffs with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
My goal, my standard for this team going forward is divisional round in the playoffs.
Exactly.
If it's not that, I don't want it. If we're not getting to the game where we play, where we're either the number one seed with a bye, or we're beating one game in the first round to get to the divisional round, that's my standard. if they can't get to the playoffs, win a game, and get to that divisional round, it's not a true success for me at no point, because then you wouldn't have gotten better. So I think this is a sign to point to the fans, like, we're trying to get better and we're going to make the necessary moves necessary to get better. However, as a fan looking at it, I think there was some internal conflict. Understand that Stefanski ran the offense, honestly, completely.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and for him to get rid of guys that been there from the beginning, who were, again, bright spots, um, I think there was some internal conflicts. I just don't think they'll come out right away. It's not going to be transparency right away, on disagreements that probably happen. Maybe the coaches got other opportunities they was asking to get out of contracts, and we may not know just yet. But I think this is a bone for the fans. Like, hey, we're going to do whatever it takes to get back to the playoffs and to win a playoff game.
So how long is this? How long is this leash for Stefanski? Because the conversation is going to come. Obviously, a lot of people want Stefanski extended. So if you're talking about the expectation being divisional or bust, um, if we don't meet that expectation and we bounce in the first round next year, and you extend Stefanski, isn't that kind of like necessary? You think you're taking a step forward because you're solidifying the continuity and the coach, but at the same time, if you come out and fail the next year, now you're talking about, are we going to look for another coach or are we going to look for another quarterback? Which direction are you going from there?
I like that question. I like that. Let's look at it like this. I love that problem.
Okay,
Us getting back to the playoffs and having a problem that, hey, we want more than playoffs.
right.
Let's take a second to grasp that for a minute. I never made it to the playoffs for as a Cleveland Brown. I
Hmm.
had to leave and play for the Colts. So for us to have a conversation of, playoff, like, hey, we want more than the playoffs. Like, we're done with the play. That is amazing. And I can hang our hat as a fan base, like, man, look at us. We're on a hill in a field of our own with select teams that always get to the playoffs every year. Your Kansas City Chiefs, Buffaloes, teams that always make it every year. So I want to recognize that moment. And then I want to say, is that such a bad thing if we get here again next year with the coach and we lose? I think it's how we lose. If we lose like we did this year, then an extension may not save Stefanski if we lose again. But if we lose with honor, going down like they came out
Like we thought.
firing, yes, it depends on how we lose. Because if we make it to the playoffs again, guys, we were 11-6. Should have
Hmm.
been 12-5, but we didn't need that last game. Um, I hate how we played. I'm gonna just say this: I don't think the Houston Texans belong in the playoffs.
Ooh,
And I love Baker. I love watching Baker. I don't think the Buccaneers belong in the play. Understand that the Houston Texans didn't own their own fate. They got in because Jaguars lost. And then
true.
because the Jaguars lost, that crowned them at 9-8, division champs of a
Hmm.
of a terrible division.
But to be fair though, right? You got to give credit where credit is
You
due.
definitely do that.
In the moment though, hear me out though. Like this is where my problem was way before when I was off the Kevin Stefanski train, right? My biggest problem with Kevin Stefanski was exactly what we just saw. Whether it was he that got out coached or Jim Schwartz that got out coached or the whole coaching staff that got out coached. I said when the moment came, just because Kevin Stefanski has bright spots now, he's shown growth. When it comes down to it, if there's a better coach on the other end, he will get out coached more than likely. And we saw that. And when we're in an off season like we are right now, when you have a pick of the litter that you will never ever ever get again. This is
Are
different
you
than
hinting? Are you hinting at what I think you're
no,
hinting at?
no. Look, I think Stefanski has earned it. I do.
Okay.
But I'm talking about the uncomfortable conversation. At the very least, Haslam, Barry, DePodesta, whoever are the guys calling the shots, have to sit down at the table and he has to say, hey, Stefanski, here's your extension, right? You've earned it, okay? But before we get to this extension, I need to know, how are you getting me over this hump? Because I'm going to go call Belichick. I'm going to go
I knew
call,
that. Yes,
you know what I
I
mean?
knew.
I'm going to go call all these quarterbacks. What
Right. Let's talk
thoughts?
about that. Let's talk about that. Um, you remember when Deshaun Watson came available
Mm-hmm.
and we had Baker?
Mm-hmm.
And Baker wasn't bad. We just went on a run. But we saw the ceiling for him. This can be a similar moment for a head coach.
It is.
We see that ceiling for our team with Stefanski. Because once you make it to the playoffs, you're going to be, like you said, you're going to be facing another coach who is great
Mm-hmm.
and strategically sound, and he might not do well. So for us as a fan base, for us as an organization, you're you're saying, and I hear you, that we may need to upgrade in order to get over the hump, because that's what it's about. That's what we did with Baker. We saw the ceiling and
Yep.
we said we want to give ourselves the opportunity to get to the Super Bowl.
But
To
do you know
get
why though? You know why I do that? Because of the window. Here's my thing.
Yes,
I think if Kevin Stefanski was the coach when you played, there would be no question, no doubt. He'd have a 10-year contract on his desk. He'd be our Marvin Lewis. He'd be our Tomlin.
right.
There would be no question. But when you're in this new style of
Yeah.
offenses, these new coaches that are coming in and taking the league by storm, you've had a couple opportunities to win games in the playoffs and you haven't. If I'm Jimmy, it's just like, it's not that you're a bad guy, Kev. I just need to see if the grass is greener on the other side, because
And that
we
could get
don't
us
know.
burnt though.
It could. It very
And
well
but
could.
is it that important, right? Not to say the playoffs or the Super Bowl division isn't important, but is it more important than us getting back here? So we're not there yet to be where the Bengals were with Marvin Harrison, making it to the playoffs every
Hmm.
single year
Yep.
and losing in the first round. They needed to make that decision at that point. Like, man, we keep getting here and losing every year. Matter of fact, when I was playing with the Colts, we played the Bengals in the first round and just easily went through them and on to the next. So when we get to the point where we are a definite every year playoff team and we're like, hey man, enough of this playoffs. We want more. I just think we're not there just yet. And the funny, not the funny part, but the part you mentioned, there is a window. We
Hmm.
have a Miles Garrett that's easy. Hey, he's
Yep.
aging. We have talent right now that it's gonna
Zadarius.
it's gonna change. We're not gonna have these guys. They have like a 2-3 window max that we can still hang our hat on them. So yes, I say yes to your question of, that extension comes with degrees. It comes with strings attached. What's your plan? What is your plan of attack once we make it here next year? Because we keep getting out coached when it matters. We got
Hmm.
out coached versus the Texans.
100%.
We were the better team.
You know what?
Schwartz
You know
got
what
out
pisses
coached.
me? So
I
let's
love him.
dive into it. Yeah, let's
I
dive
love
right
him.
into the Texans now, because we vibing right now, and now we talked about the news. Let's talk about this Texans game, because they did another thing that I feared, and it was, I loved. First off, let me start by saying that I loved the motto that they lived by, the aura that they kept, the fact that they walked around on their chest, "We the best in the world." I love that, right?
Yes.
But I think they took that to the extreme, led by head coach Kevin Stefanski. And here's what I mean by that. We started out this game how we started out the first 3 weeks of the season, right? And that was, okay, what the heck is this offense doing? Why
Right.
are we playing conservative? Are we waiting because we know we can hang around because we have this defense? And I think they bit themselves in the butt with doing that
Yep.
and not coming out and starting fast, because for the first two drives, it was check down. It was a small run here. It was not attacking downfield. When the first week that Joe Flacco came in the game, I mean, you went 7 plays, 87 yards, and a bomb to Jerome Ford for a touchdown. Where the heck was that offense?
And this is why I felt like we were out coached. Because did we think we was going to go in there and do it again? Did we think they didn't watch film That's not going to be hope. They're going to. If I'm a coach, I'm going to say you're not going to let Amari Cooper have a hell of a game against us again. We're going to immediately take him out. Bam. I'm not going to let nobody go deep on us. Bam. Make everything go under. So for us not to have an immediate response, like we know y'all trying to take away the deep, we about to kill y'all with the intermediate short game, and it's gonna come. And then if y'all do that, we got another playbook for y'all. For them not to throw everything and this is what I thought they made a mistake. For them not to throw everything that they had at this game, I think was a mistake. It felt as if they thought they were going to come in, go down to Houston and just roll through them like they did 2 weeks prior. They
Yep.
rolled through them literally with no kicker. And they thought they was going to do it again, and they got out coached. The Houston Texans offense coordinator, D'Amico Ryan's defense coordinator, they both were like, nah,
Nope.
nah, you know, you're not
Mm-mm.
going. And we had no answer. So yes, they relied on the defense, and the defense had no answer as well because they got exposed. They got out coached, and it's simply it wasn't that they got exposed because it was just strategic out coach. We know
Mm-hmm.
y'all do this, we're gonna hit you with this, and they just had no answer.
I'm glad you talked about the defense because one thing that I noticed was, see, I'm a guy that's like, do what got you here, right? I mentioned when I first seen it, I'm like, man, they should have played week 18. They should have played that last week of the year. That momentum that they just have, it's a
I
magical
said that.
momentum. You know
I
what I
said
mean?
they should have played like they should have
A
played as
series.
like a preseason game.
Yeah.
Like maybe a series or two select guys just to keep the mojo.
I mean, that atmosphere was
Ye-
so lit, and they
Yes,
had to absorb it and take it
yes,
in, and then you just sit. That's neither here nor there. But back to the Houston game, when I noticed with the defense, man, they got out of their element. They weren't. I didn't see Greg Newsome. I didn't see JOK hitting this. It was all they altered their mindset a little bit too much, in my opinion, for the right reasons. They locked in. They were locked in. There's no doubt there were some players on that defense that were locked in, but they didn't do what got them there. And I think that's what bothered me the most is that I didn't see nobody out there having fun.
right. Um, it was playoffs. A lot of those guys have never been in that situation, and I think it was a lot riding on it.
Mhm.
That's why when we don't have to look for specific, reasoning like they didn't celebrate or things like it's simple. They simply got out coached. It was very simple. JOK, he played. He still was balling. I mean, he is my defensive player of the year, like no
Agreed.
question. And I know they had an answer for they neutralized Myles Garrett, but you also had guys that because the defense was so good, they had other guys that didn't quite kind of match up. And we talked about this on the pod the other day. We had to select guys on defense that just because the defense was good, they were able to hide.
Mhm.
And nothing against these guys, but Juan Thornhill, Zadarius. You had guys that was able to hide and they didn't kind of play up to their potential. It was all on Miles back. It was all on Emerson and the trio. It was on JOK. It wasn't on guys that you brought there to add something, even though they had a top ranked defense. This was the game you were looking for something special from the others,
Mhm. Exactly.
and you got nothing from the others.
But you didn't get some from the guy, the best player on the team. And not only did you not get some from the guy in 9-5, you haven't got none from the guy since like week 12, week 13 or whatever it is, right? And I think that's it's the
That was
dumbest
coaching.
conversation.
That's coach. Listen,
So okay, so is the blame on Schwartz?
no, it's the fact that look, the cat is out the bag. When I started uh playing really good as a returner, like I'm killing teams, and
Killing
that's the
them.
only hope for us, right? Like if we just take cribs out, they ain't got nothing. So
Mhm.
after a while, just don't kick in the cribs. and we done with them. So you just think of this. If there's only a few guys on defense that's like the spark, the momentum, neutralize, take them out. Two, three guys to do it. Now you don't have you're neutralizing every week their best asset, and then you make the supporting cast be the main stage, and that's what the problem was. Our supporting cast didn't show up in the best way like they were supposed to. JOK did, but they needed more guys. You needed your whole team to be the supporting cast. If my offensive coordinator saying, look, they got Miles Garrett up on the green dot players. One of the guys we're not going to let destroy our offense. Take him out the game. The rest, make them win it for them. But we're going to have you and you and you on this play, cover Miles. And on this play, we're going to have the tight end and the tackle, cover Miles. On this play, we're going to have the tackle and the running back, cover Miles. If every play they're neutralizing this guy, it calls for other guys to step up. It
Mm-hmm.
calls for coaching to step up. So in this game, Swartz did the necessary thing to get us to the playoffs. Stefanski did the necessary thing to get us to the playoffs. There's no expensive or hidden recipe because anything can happen in the playoffs. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
hate teams getting. Not that I hate. I'm hating a little bit on the Texans. I'm gonna just be accountable. I'm hating a little because I didn't think they deserved to get there.
That's fair.
And even I'm rooting for Baker just because like he got us to a playoffs and he won a
Mm-hmm.
playoff. But I didn't think they deserved it. When I look at their conferences, I'm like, oh man, they don't belong. Like it took us so long as a Browns fan to be this good to win 11 games. We're supposed to be playing teams of equal, and that's what happens. You let somebody in there who ain't playing for nothing, they don't care, they're scrappy, because we used to be that team. And now it came down to the Houston Texans, and we didn't do enough. It was just that one game. Had we did enough, we wouldn't be having this conversation about coaching. We wouldn't be having this conversation about Miles being neutralized even for weeks. And we wouldn't even be talking about the firings because they'll be still getting prepared for another game.
Exactly.
And it
But see,
wouldn't be a
here's
need.
I just feel like it's like that's good and all, but like if you are claiming out, if you, I don't give a damn if the Texans don't deserve to be in. We should
Right.
go in there and beat they. We should go in there and smack them. So,
Right.
period.
Exactly.
So that's on us
Yes.
that we let these guys beat them. So
It was
I don't know.
embarrassing. Let me tell you this real quick. It was embarrassing so much so that they took our social media
Hmm.
designs for the playoffs that the Browns posted.
I
That
was
that
watching the
graf-
show. I saw that.
yeah, that graffiti,
Yeah.
and they put up the score, and that hurt a little bit. It was like I didn't know who to fire back at, the Houston Texans handle or the fans, but I just didn't do anything. I'm just like, you know what, y'all won, y'all can talk trash. But it's like I can't fast forward myself to next season.
I
And I
can't
can't say
either.
I can't say we blew y'all out when, in the preseason, I mean, the regular season, because they beat us when it mattered. And I was shocked because I didn't expect CJ Stroud to be able to pick apart our number one ranked defense. And for the life of me, I had a kid, one of my wife's friends' sons in my house watching the game who was a Houston Texans fan. And I was on fire. It was burning me up inside watching him root for the team in my house. Burning me up. Did you ever want to throw a kid out your house? I
Man,
wanted to treat him
listen.
like Bob. I wanted to be like,
Get him
yeah.
off the field.
Every time he cheered for him, I was like, "Ah," but you were a kid and I couldn't. I just had to imagine it. So
Right.
it hurts to be
That's
on this
funny.
side of that L, knowing we got outcoached, knowing we got outplayed in just one game.
In
That
one
meant so
game.
much.
So what could they have done differently on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively? What could they have done differently?
More aggressive. Yeah, like you said, you came out and you said, um, we were throwing a little check downs and a little stuff. Throw the ball up out there, man. Let Cooper.
Hmm.
Hey, he get paid too. Throw it out there for him. Still
You want to get uncomfortable a little bit because
attack.
they ain't got the dogs barking. They must have get on. They uncomfortable too. Amari Cooper, it's scary. the conversation around Amari Cooper is scary because when I think it was the first pass of the game, he hobbled up. Does he have a heel injury?
Yeah, he had a heel issue. I hated the way a lot of times, even when I was hurt, I wouldn't. I try not to show it. It just don't look good on TV. But he was battling, of course, through injury. But he still was catching the ball when thrown to him.
But obviously, contract extensions, the big $1 million question, do you bring him back? He has earned a contract. He gonna get paid somewhere. How do
Yeah,
you work that? Because I mean, you see the injury thing starting to, and it's been an all year thing. I seen a couple of clips, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't notice that he was hobbled all year. Where do you go
right.
with that, man?
I think Andrew Berry will work it out.
I love it. I
And
love it.
we got an Ivy League, a Harvard grad for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
There will be things in his contract that make sense for both people. I think we bring him back. Watson threw him some really good passes when Watson was healthy, when everything was working against AZ, against the Titans. There's hope for him. But I think that we give him a mediocre deal that'll keep him happy and keep him here while elevating someone else, while still adding to the room. Um, I love the young talent, but not as much as I want to. I think
Right.
we still need some more weapons. Tillman was kind of getting good.
Yeah, he is.
He kind of filled in the void that DPJ left. And he picked up. So he's doing what DPJ did in his second year. So I think he's advanced a little bit quicker and faster than DPJ did. But I loved DPJ. I
I
think
did
that
too.
we need to add a piece or two to the offense at the receiver position. David Njoku, he's going to be amazing for this team going forward.
Yes, he
So
is.
if we can utilize these weapons while adding, we're going to be and then the running back position. No one wants to talk about it.
Nope.
Is our guy going to be our guy next season?
Because I know you're hearing it already.
Oh yeah,
I've seen it was like as soon as the season ended, somebody was like, "Okay, let's go draft a running back." I'm like, "What? Draft a
right,
running back? Why?
exactly.
Why would we draft a running back? Like that's the least of my worries, I guess, which leads me into the next question. Then what is the biggest need? Is it receiver?
We have some really good pieces to the puzzle. The biggest need right now is a healthy running back.
Rip. Oh, wow.
And I'm only saying that because what did we not have? We just look at that game. We didn't run the ball at all.
But we haven't been though. See, that's my
But
problem
we
with it.
need to. Because when you can
But
run, that opens up the pass. When you are a defense and you don't got to worry about the run, now I'm in pass coverage. My problem with Flacco, when he had success, I was worried that the injuries would catch up to us. Also, the playoff game against the Texans, our injuries caught up to us. Flacco can't run. He couldn't escape anything. So when there was trouble and he had to move here and there, we couldn't do nothing.
but we
Had we
never
had a run game that he
but
can just turn it all, even when Flacco is not doing good, we hand the ball off to Nick Chubb, and he can win the game on the strength of his back. But the loss of Chubb, because people said we didn't run the ball, even with Chubb. I see it. But we did run it
we
some
did.
enough. We ran it enough. But without him, we didn't run it at all. Especially when it counted. How many runs did we have against the Houston Texans last week?
I think we only had like 23,
And
if I'm
that
not
came,
mistaken.
but no, that came when we lost the game. We were trying to get out the game.
I don't
In the
think
first two quarters, we ran the ball probably about 6 times in the first two quarters.
if Chubb is healthy though, there's no need to. That's all. I mean, not only so you talk about
That's the
adding a
question. That's the question.
will he be healthy,
If he's
but
healthy, we good.
But the Watson is another threat at running too. So I don't think we need.
If Chubb is healthy, we good on the running attack. We can just add a compliment. Hell, Jerome Ford did good.
He
He's
did.
we're good. If Chubb is healthy, let's go out there and get some backup linemen.
That's my
Let's go
true.
out there. Hudson, I love him. You balled as much as you could.
Mm-hmm.
But this game is a little too, when you're playing it late in the year, you need some warriors to back you up.
Do they
And that we were exposed at that position.
are they upgrading from Jed?
What you think? They saw what we saw.
Listen, I
They
don't.
saw what you saw. His backup, Dewan Jones. Dewan Jones might be playing left tackle like the blind side next year. Don't be surprised.
I can't wait to see him come back. I think a lot of this just rides on Deshaun Watson. I think this is the year, right? It's like, okay,
Did
we
we
have.
not miss him
It's
against
not
the
only do we not miss him, he got all his leverage back. He got
yes
every
in
ounce
one game?
in one game. And I think everybody was talking about how he was smiling on the sideline and stuff. Man, if you him and you everything that you went through, knowing that you got the conversation that we was gonna have is completely different. Oh, Joe Flacco, Sean Watson, what are you gonna do? Da 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 da. Now he's sitting here like, okay, I want this, this, and find me a or offensive coordinator that can get this done, and we gonna go ahead and work this. And now that's where that fork road comes back with the Kevin Stefanski, Deshaun Watson.
I'm excited to see if Deshaun goes hard in the paint,
Me too.
puts that work in. Maybe drop a few pounds because he's gonna have to run the ball. He's gonna have to be
Hmm.
mobile. He's gonna have to put it on the money. We're gonna have to catch Deshaun fever. We're gonna have to put our differences aside for this guy, and we're gonna have to root for this guy. And I think that's the missing piece.
The Watson.
Like you said, Watson is the missing piece.
So do
Because
you,
if his arm is not there, like if he's struggling for whatever reason, he could run the ball, which he did, and extend plays, which every playoff team can do. Every playoff quarterback in the tourney right now has
can
a
move.
mobile quarterback who can throw the ball well. Every one of them, but us, we didn't.
So this is such a weird situation that we're in because Kevin Stefanski's offense is clearly better with a pocket style passer. And this is why the conversation
Is
is
that better? Is that the NFL? Is that what's best for us when we playing in the playoffs? A
it's
pocket
not.
style when
It's
they bring in
not.
that blitz that the Texans did.
But that goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show, which was your offense is clearly better with a pocket passer, but Deshaun Watson ain't a pocket passer. You don't run that offense. Are you demoting
So
yourself or what?
so what exactly? So what you think Stefanski got to do? He got to evolve. He got to
Right.
say my offense is this, so I got to make it this because I want to go here. I don't want to go here. My offense with a pocket passer went here first round of playoffs, but we need to go here. Now I need to elevate myself and my game plan. That's one thing that I think Stefanski didn't do a few years ago when he had OBJ,
Hmm.
when he had all this talent. He put guys into his system instead of taking those guys and creating more and keep elevating the guys who need to rock. Keep elevating talent. I think he did that tremendously with. This is why I thought he was a coach of the year because he kept feeding guys like Njoku. He was feeding them more, like even with the pocket pass, he was feeding those guys. And those guys put up huge numbers. If he has the mindset of feeding the talent, running backs, feed Deshaun. Every now and then you might got to call a sweep and tell him to run out of bounds and teach him how to slide better.
Hmm.
Because he should have been sliding. He has to evolve and grow as well. Like the players, Stefanski got to evolve and grow as well.
We keep talking about Stefanski and this coach of the year thing. Here's my one problem with it. Buckle up, because I know a lot of people aren't gonna like it. Here's my one problem with it. He don't deserve it now. This award should go through at least Supercar Wild weekend. Weekend. because the coach that everybody was putting him up against went out here and embarrassed you. And in my eyes, it's like, are we celebrating regular season or not? Because if we're celebrating regular season, I'm fine. Go ahead, Stefanski, clear cut. There ain't no discussion. Zero at all. But when you go up against a coach who smacked you, how can you be the coach of the year?
I'll
When
tell
he's
you
the one.
why. I'll tell you why.
Let's hear it.
That's a real good question. So if we go off of playoffs, then you're changing the criteria because for obvious reasons. He went up against the coach that he lost into the playoffs in regular
Fair.
season. And they dealt with the same thing we've been dealing with.
Hmm.
And what happened? We
Smack.
smacked them. 36 that we put up huge points on them when they injured and their guy was gone. Well, guess what? Our guys with an S were gone the entire season. And we ended up with a better record than they could ever have. Should have been 12-5, 11-6 with 5 quarterbacks. All the different injuries, no offensive line. You had one starter for the season. Offensive line, the running backs, the defense. So all these injuries, when it happened to D'Amico, we blew him out. As soon as his guy came back, now y'all winning against us. And we still injured, by the way. So that's the only reason I say to that, because they truly didn't play head to head. We had backups. When they had a backup, what happened? When you have a backup person in there, your coach is supposed to elevate them to an amazing level. And when you look at the stories, what they went through, what is D'Amico Ryans? What is he heralding? He's a rookie. He's not an offensive coordinator. He's not putting C.J. Stroud in the mental capacity he needs to go out there and win games. But when you throw him a bone, when you put a bone in the workings of his team, like having C.J. Stroud out, does he elevate them? No, they lose. They lose those games without their quarterback. You do the same thing to Cleveland. We find Joe Flacco on the couch. We elevate P.J. Walker to. We elevate DTR to beat the Steelers. You get what I'm saying? You see where I'm
I
going
feel
here?
you.
The coach is supposed to elevate these players, no matter who they are. And that, I think, is the story, the total body of work. However, you're a super fan, so you feel like I feel. Like, nah, man, you lost the game when it count. You disqualified now.
I'm trying to think of it from the GM's perspective, like from the Haslam's perspective, though, because when it matters most, are you getting the job done? I can go back and off the top of my head, this is without any, going back and digging and getting any homework done. But off the top of my head, you can think back when Nick Foles went down, or when Carson Wentz went down, they were 11-0, whatever the case may be, MVP front runner. Doug Peterson found a way to get the most out of Nick Foles. There was a year, obviously, we're talking about Tom Brady. He's the GOAT, but before he was the GOAT, he had to get to that status. The year, I think it was either he went undefeated or the year he won a Super Bowl. They went through like 7 different offensive linemen. They had a bunch of guys, Chris Hogan's of the world, people that you don't even hear of now. You go through these guys who have went through certain situations, and when the mattered most, they found ways to get through it. And yet, every time Stefanski has been put in a situation when it's like, damn, when it matters most, has this
Mm,
man came through? And I
mm,
think if I'm Jimmy Haslam, this is not the super fan talking, because the super fan is, man, this man earned it. 11-6, you earned it. But the Haslam and the Andrew Berry in me is like, my job is on the line too. I need to win. You haven't done it. How are you going to do it? If you are not going to do it, I need to upgrade, period.
Let me tell you this. The Haslams, Andrew Berry, they definitely had a number of wins that Coach Stefanski needed to get extended.
Agreed.
Um, I was coaching with the team in 2018. Hugh Jackson he used to complain to me in secret on the sideline all the time during practice. He used to come beside me, kind of whisper in my ear and complain. Man, they expect me to get 10 wins out of this. Man, look, they hamstringing me, man. They hamstringing me. Man, look at this, man. And maybe I shouldn't be saying this because it was a private conversation, but I got him. I understood completely. Like he was not in control. He
Okay.
didn't pull the string. He didn't decide who came and went. He just
Mhm.
had to take what they could give him and roll with the punches. So when I listen to him say how many wins they expected, and they probably with Deshaun Watson, knowing that Andrew Berry gave him that money, Andrew Berry was on the hook,
Mhm.
and the Haslam's with Watson in there was like, look, we need at least 12, or I might have to look for a new GM. With giving Deshaun all that money. Now the injury happened, changed everything. If I'm a general manager, if I'm Haslam's, I'm excited. Look at all the because you gotta think it's a business too.
Right.
It's more of a business than it
Right.
is about
I
wins.
forgot about that.
Yeah. Look at the merchant. They sold a lot of merchant. We
Yeah.
about to go on a Browns cruise coming up. This season was a success. Far as business,
Mhm.
far as your fan base,
You hit it.
we're just upset. But as far as business, man, they met their quota. They beat their quota. Getting this fan base to the playoffs. The Flacco fever. I mean, we were high in the playoff rankings. Look how much we were talked about nationally.
I
They
was
met
look
their quota.
I was looking for why I was you hit it right on the head because I was trying to figure out why it would be a success from that side, right? And you're right, 100%. We sold more merchandise than we probably ever sold. We've had more events. You've brought in more fans. You actually have a younger fan base now because of this season. And I couldn't think of why. But if I go back to previous things that I talked about in the beginning and why we saw Jimmy Haslam's hand in the cookie jar so much when he first bought the team, you had just bought the team for $1 billion. This is your best year times five. You have probably made more money than you have ever made from this season than you have ever made the first 4 years you bought the team. So you hit it on the head. The season ultimately is a success. We're panicked as fans, and the fact that it transpired in dollars, it was a success to them. So yeah, but I think that I still think there's a question that is, okay, how long do we let this ride out now? Because do we want to just sustain? Do we want to hope that we can catch magic again, or do we want to sustain the type of success that we're having? And I think that's where it's like, I don't know if you give Stefanski that extension just yet.
You got to.
You
Listen to
do?
this. His money won't be his money is just like any other coach's money. Andrew Berry, look, right now, Coach Stefanski is one of the lowest paid coaches in the NFL.
Okay.
He's one of the lowest paid head coaches in the NFL. Yet, look what he did.
Let me just ask you this then. If we're playing hypothetical again, if we do, if Stefanski let's just say we lose in the first round or we don't make it at all, and you extended him
It's how.
now, huh?
It's how.
Even
So
it don't even let's say Watson, everyone's healthy, and you go 10-6, and so happen the AFC is stacked like it was this year, and you just so happen to miss it.
that happened to us
Oh my
before.
god, don't even talk about that because I was so mad that year. We
Yeah.
should have went 14-2 that year. Am I wrong? Am I
You're
wrong in
not.
saying that?
We lost 4 games by a touchdown or less.
And
By a
one of
field
them,
goal left.
that was the year that Kellen Winslow made a rule change in that
Yes.
Arizona game, right? Or was it the Arizona game? He
You were
got pushed
right.
out of bounds.
Yep.
We should have went 14-2 that year. I'll never forget it. And I'm like, oh my God, Peyton Manning, if you could just don't bench the starters, please don't bench the
And they
starters.
did.
And they did. And Tennessee ended up, man,
Yeah.
don't get me started, man.
Yeah. But yet the Steelers squeaked in.
We don't get that benefit of the doubt. That's why I just feel like I just don't want to. I think us as fans, we're conditioned um to feel a certain type of way. We appreciate everything that comes in front of us, whether people may think about it or not. Because I
Most of us.
most of us, right? But I think we also look at it through a loser lens. And I'm trying to condition us out of that because you don't hear Patriots organization. You don't hear, I mean, even the Dallas Cowboys, like they're America's team. Like they're in poverty right now. They haven't won since Nam. But you don't hear these other fan bases being like, we did a great job this year with this 11-6. We prospered through the, you know what I mean? Like, and I get it. And I get it. Trust me. I'm not diminishing anything that we did this year. It was incredible. But we also look, that's why I love when Juan Thornhill came in. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. You referenced it on your show. Ryan is his name.
Yeah.
He talked about, he said, three of your biggest acquisitions in this offseason were Juan Thornhill, Zadarius Smith, and who was the other one that he said?
Um,
Who was the
that
other
didn't
one?
play well. Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore. So your three, you kind of went 0 for 3. But when I heard that, I'm like, oh, I got to talk about this because in a sense, I get where he's going. But in a sense, I also think it wasn't an 0 for 3 strikeout because everyone in this locker room is in unison.
Right. Especially the defense.
Everyone agrees that there's a culture change. Everyone agrees that there's a DNA established. And these guys that we're talking about, Juan Thornhill, Zadarius Smith, Elijah Moore, Juan Thornhill was at the front runner of being in front of, oh, this ain't, we here. And this was in preseason or training camp. Zadarius Smith was a complete night and day shift from Jadeveon Clowney to what he was. Elijah Moore, when he came out and had that, when Joe Flacco came in and just said, man, there's something about this team that's just different. It started with those guys that you brought in. So in a sense, I agree that you struck out production wise, but when it comes to the trajectory of this team, like Jarvis Landry, Baker Mayfield, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, they molded what is to come. And if we didn't have Zadarius and Juan and Elijah,
I agree.
We're not talking about it.
I agree. But
I just wanted to.
You're also talking like a fan. And see, that's the problem we get sometimes. So I come from that era as well. I speak from a fan that loves this team. So you saw these three come to the team and they became a part of the team and they meshed and they fit well because other people had success.
Mm-hmm.
But if you speak of it internally, you're the general manager, you don't care about fandom, you only care about production. You look at how many tackles, you look at, did this guy stick out on film?
Mm-hmm.
On offense, do you see Zadarius defense? Did he have a lot of sacks? Did he have a lot of this? You determine as individuals, did these guys produce or can they be replaced for somebody else that's going to be productive? And no matter if they fit, they did. And they came through when they had to. But if I'm a general manager, I'm looking at that production, I'm like, we paid you 11 mil. Zadarius, Juan, we wanted, and it's early in the season. We were like, man, because remember, Elijah Moore was supposed to have a big year.
Yeah, he was.
And so when Flacco came, things changed drastically. He was getting the rock. However, we were 11-6.
Right. So that's what I was gonna say. Like, I think
don't complain much about one guy's production when it's a win overall. So I get that. And I can see both sides. They all, in my book, all of them deserve to come back with different changes here and there. Maybe different play calling, like it will be. Because maybe Elijah Moore needed the ball a little bit more. Maybe we shouldn't have had him in the backfield so much early on in the season.
You just you finally clarified it. So Kevin Stefanski needs to demote himself.
Maybe that's a part of it. Maybe that's a part of him getting somebody. Maybe he don't want to demote himself until he feel like somebody's more capable than him. Okay, so that Van, when he fired the OC, he doesn't make you can't. I'm not going to demote myself to somebody less than,
right,
because I'm still the head coach. And if he doesn't do even better, I'm getting fired. And it's my fault if he's here screwing it up. I'm gonna have to take the reins. But if they bring somebody in here that can rejuvenate, come with aggressiveness, exotic, on-time plays, then Stefanski can sit back and watch a masterpiece. But until he feels like there's a guy that he can bring in on his squad, on the Browns, and be better than him, then he's not going to give up the reins of calling the plays.
So, how do I want to ask it? Is is he? I don't know how I really want to go with that because I just feel.
Remember, if you're the coach, you're bringing in somebody to basically replace you of why you became a head coach. He became a head coach on the strength of his offensive coordinator duties.
Exactly. So is this the last card? Is this when you're sitting at the table and it's like, man, I don't have no more cards? Is this more of a, hey, this is your last card, buddy. You gotta play it. Or is this a, all right, maybe I have one more card, but okay, I'll concede and I will hire an OC. Is he being forced to do this move, or is he willingly going to give up this play calling? Is it the last card basically? Because that's it.
It's a conglomerate. I like how you phrased it, but no.
It's not.
And no matter how we look at this, and no matter our beef with Stefanski,
No beef with me, by the way.
I get it. With 11-6, he found a way. No matter how we don't like him, and I wasn't talking about him being a great head coach. I
Mhm.
was considering him for coach of the year because he did a good job as a coordinator. In times where, yeah, we should have beat the Texans, but we got there on the strength of Stefanski's play calling.
A
Like,
hundred
we hated his
percent.
play calling early on, run the ball, do this and that. And then we were quiet because he caught fire. And we were 11-6 under Stefanski. So his coaching right now, no matter if you like it or love it, is just not in question. 11-6 breeds, so production breeds leniency. From Stefanski and Andrew Berry's perspective, he was productive, and that breeds leniency. He will be the same guy he needs to be, because if it takes us to 11-6, we get here next year, it may be a different game. So if he could do what he did last year, get us here again. I mean, you can't. I want that over opportunity. I mean, over somebody that looks good on paper. I just want to get here again. Let us get another shot at this playoff again, because I bet you Haslam will love it. I bet you the price of the tickets will go up. The price of the team will go up. It'll be probably another. It won't be First Energy because they don't have it. Somebody else will be on a brand. Want to be a
Right.
part of the stadium. And I promise you.
So I know you got to get ready to go. I want to ask you one more thing before we get up out of here, man. Josh, I can't thank you enough, bro.
Man, I
It's
can't
crazy to.
thank you enough, man. I got a jersey coming your way too.
I'm waiting on. I got one of
Yeah, I
these
got
for
it.
you too. I got one
I
of
got
these
the
for you.
jersey. I made it at the Browns. I made at the pro shop, but they was
Okay.
like, because of the playoffs, they was stacked. They was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna take 2 weeks. I'm like, 2 weeks? Like, I just promised them the jersey like weeks ago, but
No
I got
worries.
the jersey for you.
No worries, no worries. I ain't worried about it, but I appreciate it, man. It's crazy to that it's a full circle moment, and I can call you a friend now, and for you to come on the show, man. I thank you for real, for real. But I'll leave you off with this. Since we've been talking about the Kevin Stefanski thing, I want to end it with you. You mentioned that he's going to bring a offensive coordinator in who, if he does give up the play calling duties of someone that's not lesser than him. But my question to you is, why would any offensive coordinator come if they're not going to call the plays? Because you're not going to get someone like, let's just say AVP was the best option. Who's to say you're going to get a Todd Monken or whoever these guys are throwing out of these calibers, because they're not going to be the one calling the plays. So who are we getting?
So whoever they get, again, it's Stefanski. They make those calls together. Stefanski, Andrew Berry. They will meet and talk about that together and discuss their capability. So that a coach's meeting lasts, an interview like this will last maybe 2 days. Or if it was one day, it'll last a whole day. They will take breaks. When I came in on my coach's meeting, it took 5 hours. I had to have a presentation. I had to put my skills on display. There were a group of people looking and asking questions. I was at the chalkboard. You get what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
they will fire off real situation. Hey, 4th and 3, we need this. Like, will be a play call for you in your offense that you have currently, or that you like. This is they will fire at him real scenarios. They will have to like him. They will really dig in deep on this,
Mm-hmm.
because that Stefanski will not just give up the reins. He will groom him. Understand, he's hiring a guy whose fate will be in his hands too. Because if
Right.
this guy don't do good, Stefanski could get fired. So
Right. You're
he's
right.
bringing in a guy who he has to trust with his own job. So whoever it is, it's going to be a position that's highly sought after, because so much will be riding on it. Like, this is not just a team we're not rebuilding.
No.
We're not rebuilding. So if you are the guy to get that job, that's a high sought after job. We're going to be in the playoffs next year. Not, I want to say 9 times out of 10, but more than likely, we're going to be a playoff team. So this is a high sought, because look how we with Swartz. I know everybody was like, man, we hope Swartz stay here,
Mm-hmm.
because there's going to be a lot of head coaching vacancies.
He ain't going nowhere now.
This coordinator that they're bringing in, he might have an opportunity to contend for a head coaching job.
Yep.
So why wouldn't you want it? And Swartz can go somewhere. He may not. He may not, because of the last game. Again, it's off the total body of work,
Nah.
and they're hiring younger. Yeah, yeah, I know, but they're hiring younger and younger these days.
Yep.
So that might have a factor in. So don't be surprised if we bring a young whippersnapper in here that you never heard of, and he ends up being gold.
Hey, like Chef Zay. Look, really,
Hey, hey,
I be the hype man. Y'all need a hype man.
hey,
The
it
hype
may.
man.
Hey, you never know.
Man, I can't thank you enough for hopping on. Let people know where they can find you. Shout out the podcast. Go down the rundown real
Yes,
quick.
sir, man. Look, you can find me on at Josh Crib 16 on all across the social platforms, and the return is on every Tuesday night live 7 p.m. And we air our stuff on Bally's Network, and we have fun on there with Maria, my wife, and a host of other guests. Our producer Ryan, Chef Zay was on there. He's gonna come back on there a couple times. But man, holler at us, man. Chef Zay, I had so much fun, man.
I appreciate it. Make sure you tell Maria I said, hey, I'll have shirts for you and her. So make sure you
Excellent.
guys. Should I send it to the Play Studios or you send me an address or
I'm gonna
something?
send you the Addy, and or you can see it off of the jersey I sent to you.
Oh, I'm gonna wait for the jersey to get here and then I'm gonna send it when that
I'm gonna
comes.
just send you the Addy because I like that shirt, man. I love them. I was about to buy them because I don't like being given stuff. I like supporting you, so I might just go on your page and buy it anyway, man.
How about this? I've already got the Anthony Bell confirmed. I'm trying to get this crock pot on wheels thing. One thing that I've been promoting and letting people know, I'm gonna have some fundraisers coming up this off season so we could try to help get this crock pot on wheels thing going because I want to take this on the road. I want to try. I don't even want to just do home games now. We've built this big fan base. Man, I wanna take this on all the games. So
Awesome idea.
so we got
Awesome idea.
I got some fundraiser ideas coming up, and man, it would mean the
Keep in
world if you
touch
could
with
come
me.
through.
Keep in touch with me. Reach out. I'll help you as much as I can.
Man, I appreciate it, Josh. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for coming
Yes,
on, bro.
sir.
All
Yes,
right, I'll see
sir,
you later.
brother. All right.
Wow, how about that, guys? Josh Cribbs, a Cleveland Browns freaking legend, coming through on the podcast. A friend. It's unreal that we're at this moment, guys. And honestly, I wouldn't be here without the support of you guys. You guys have been tremendous. Everyone that's tuned in on YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, wherever you're watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, man, I greatly appreciate each and every one of you guys. And make sure you guys are subscribed and liked up because we got more guests coming up. We got Alex Wright coming on Friday. So we'll get a little bit of player perspective from this playoff run, and that should be fantastic. And we're gonna keep trying to get these guests rolling. So make sure you guys are tuned in, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. All right, peace.